Hello?
Hello. You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay, wait, hold on 1 second. I gotta get this on my headset. Hold on.
Hmm.
Hello?
Hi.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. For some reason, better than when you're at home. I can hear
Oh, who
you
knows?
better here. Yes.
I went to the beach and got some sushi
Hmm.
and had a
And
few
did you have
beers.
a? Did you go to the gym?
No, let's go to the gym now. There's nobody in the gym. Let's go to
Hmm.
the gym now.
All righty.
Let's see if there's anyone in the gym.
Where's your husband?
She's upstairs doing stuff.
Hmm. Is
We're a
he
little bit,
working?
no, he's not working. We're a little bit worried because we have a camera in our bird cage. And since we've left, two of the birds have died. So we're sending someone over to make sure it's nothing to do with the food or the water.
Uh-huh. Oh dear. Well, it's good to have neighbors you can trust.
It's not a neighbor, but it's my husband's friend.
Oh, right, right.
No, there's nobody in the gym. You want to see the gym?
Yeah.
Hold on.
So what did you and Perspective discuss after I left? I to go and do
Oh,
something.
God. I don't know how to show you this gym. Here it is.
Well, it's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. I would show, here, I'll show you the resort, but how do I do, oh, settings, camera.
Well, I can see you
Can you
and the
see
gym
now?
equipment.
Okay, let's see. Okay. So here's the gym.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a big resort. I'll show you the whole thing. Let me take
Yeah,
you
that'd be
on,
great.
let me take you on a tour.
That
Let's
would
hope,
be
wait, hold
fun.
on. Hold on. People might be naked. Hold on. Okay, nobody. No, no, they're not naked. I'm gonna have to be
Mm-hmm.
careful. I don't want anyone. I don't want you to have to take down the stream. So this is one of the
Mm-hmm.
pools. There's about
Mm-hmm.
four or five pools here.
Mm-hmm. Well, where's everybody? It must be what I guess
It's
everybody's
off
having their
season.
siesta.
Yes, it's off season. It's off season,
Right.
so there's very few people here. It's more in the winter. Hold on, I don't want to camera these people. I'm not cameraing you. I'm just
Oh.
showing my friends resort. Okay, so we can come down here. Okay, I
Did
know
you
in this
just show
next.
me the stairs where the blood was?
Oh yes, I will. Hold on, wait.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone naked in this pool, so I can't show you this pool. Hold
Mm-hmm.
on. Hold on. This is where the murder mystery happened. So here I have a hot tub. Actually, I can show you the pool from another angle because then it won't catch him being
Mm-hmm.
naked. Hold on. Hold on.
What was the sign that said dawn to dusk something?
I'll try. Here's that other pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not. It's not showing him naked.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can't see anyone anyway.
here's the where the pool of blood was right here,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll show you my room.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make sure my husband is fully clothed. Yes, he is. Cal, I'm just showing my friends the room. So I have a dining, I have a kitchen.
Very comfortable.
Yes. Have a little closet. You can see how fat I am.
No, you're not bad. Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, yes. You're also near a beach, aren't you?
Yes, I am by the beach. Oh, hold on. You didn't see a naked person, did you?
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let me make sure there's no naked people. Nudity allowed only on ground level. I'm not allowed to be naked.
I wonder what that reason is. What is the reason?
Because hold on, I don't want you to see there's a naked person here. Hold on. Let's hope I don't get anyone naked on camera.
I can see that your shoulders are a bit burnt.
Yeah, hold on, let me make sure. Okay, so here's a nice passageway. Goes down. Very some seating area. Let's see, hopefully there's nobody in the courtyard.
Connells is asking what's with all the naked people. It's a gay nudist colony.
Yeah, it's a nude resort. Hold on one second, let's say. Nobody in here, no naked people. Yes, here's a courtyard.
You know, it made me think of, what was that movie with Jack Nicholson?
As Good as it gets? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
No, it's The Shining. The Shining. He was in this hotel off season, right?
Yes, he was in the hotel off season, and.
But I guess you can't make it really scary if it's not really isolated. But I suppose with scary music, you can make it really scary.
Yeah, well, we already had, like we had the murder mystery here. Okay, hold on one second. I want to make sure there's no one naked in this pool. I'll show you another pool.
You've got about 5 or something.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 pools. I'm not going to go to the other pool because it's crowded and there's probably naked people there. Let's see if there's anyone here. Anyone here? No. So here's another pool.
Oh, are we going to the beach?
To the beach?
If it's not too far, or if you haven't just come back from it.
I did just come back from it, and it's like 2 blocks away, and it gets really windy.
Oh, okay. Perhaps next time you can show us a beach.
Yeah, hold on.
If you want.
I'm going to turn my camera off. Well, I might turn it back on, but I just want to make sure. I'm walking to another area where someone might be naked.
Okay. Well, that's a very interesting tour.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice hotel. I like it.
I mean, it's very clean.
Yes, and very big, and lots of pools. And so how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 pools. 4 pools in a courtyard.
Will there be naked people in the cocktail lounge?
They give the cocktails out by the pool. Hold on, let me turn this camera off. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's naked people over here. I can't camera here. Definitely can't camera here. A bunch of naked people. But yeah. So, oh God, perspective was grossing me out. It was the same old shit. He doesn't want laws, and but Islam has laws, and they're shithole countries, and if they're shithole countries, it doesn't work, and just having no solution. And Oh, okay, and then they vacillate. First they say they're in big trouble, and then when you tell them you're in big fucking trouble, they start puffing themselves up like how great they are and how much they're not in trouble and how much hope there is for them and all this other kind of bullshit.
Yes, there is a pattern to their behavior. It's a kind of psychopathy, I suppose. This vacillation between, being really down and then getting aggressive, but I think
Yeah.
it's just denial.
Whoa, there's an iguana. You want to see an iguana?
I'd love to see an iguana.
You see him?
Yeah. Oh yes, it's on the plant, but I see the plant moving, but I can't. Um,
Oh, he's running away.
oh well.
I can't see because of the sun, so I can't. You can't
Yeah.
see him?
No, I saw some movement and it's gone now.
You see him?
No. Do you see him?
Yes.
Oh yes, there it is. The green thing on the ground. Yes, I see him now.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I mean, what has been established about perspective is that he goes all it's got to be Christianity, and then it's like I can't be Catholic, but I'll just go to the nearest church as long as it's Protestant, and then he was saying that he wasn't interested in Mormonism because he's not American, and
that he wasn't interested in Mormonism.
yeah, because he's European and you're American, and therefore he has no interest in an American God. And then I asked him what pantheon he'd be interested in, and he said the Greek pantheon, and then we had this discussion, didn't we, about why the
Yeah.
Greek pantheon and the Titans and the Olympians, and so really, he doesn't really believe it's just a cultural affiliation for him.
Well, that's what
And
it's like
for them, the others as well.
That's what it's like for a lot of them. Well, also, Jarrett, what's his name? Jarrett what's his last name?
Liam Jarrett. Yes. He used to be Catholic.
Yeah, well, Liam Jarrett has no legal system either. You ask him what his legal system is, and he doesn't have one. And, it's just, they're just so averse to laws. They're so averse to a court system. It's like anything but that. No court systems, anything but that.
Well, they're being obviously irrational because, if you ask them in a slightly different way the same question, they'll say yes, of course. It wouldn't be that hard for to get them to say there ought to be a law against that.
Well, yeah, the thing is that murder, okay, like, okay, everyone agrees to outlaw murder. Well, where did you get that from? If they're going to say they got it from the Bible, but I'm going to say that pagans outlawed murder too. You couldn't just murder someone in the streets of Rome and walk home. You know what I mean? I know that they had Colosseum murders and things like that, but I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about the general civilian population. We're not allowed to murder each other. So it's not like we needed the Jews or the Christians or the Muslims to teach us anything about that. So, but okay.
Yeah, so really, under the principle of reciprocity, we can agree that there ought to be a law against murder, because if there weren't, we could get murdered. There ought to be a law against theft, or people would steal our stuff, would take our stuff. And the third one is, well, I mean, what might be difficult is sexual offences. I mean, they the men might say, well, no one should sleep with my wife but me. But it also means they can't sleep with anybody's wives. But if they get caught red-handed, committing adultery, then I guess they'll have to say, yes, I got caught. And and um, and then we have to sort of examine the difference between male and female attitudes towards extramarital sex. So men want it. Women know they can control men by uh, offering the prospect of sex, or keeping men hooked on sex. Um, but at the end of the day, slut shaming would, well, I think it benefits both, because if women slut shamed each other, then they would actually, over time, get more marriageable men to marry. You see, um, so the kind of doing it for themselves as well, as but the men would want to slut shame because the more honest of these men would say, well, we can't say no. If some slut were to offer us no string sex, well, I just don't think I would be able to say no. You know, so I think currently men are at a disadvantage because they can't say no, and then the woman goes away and then comes back maybe 3 months later and say, I'm carrying your child and you'll have to pay. You know, I'm filing a paternal suit against you. You see.
Oh God, but I was telling Jay, I think it's disgusting. There's something very, very manipulative and fucked up about the relationship between men and women. He was like describing this woman. Okay, this woman is giving him free sex. This woman is giving him free sex, and he's describing this as being crucified. I've never met gay men that have been like, oh, he was trying to crucify me with his body. He was leading me into temptation. I've never heard this before.
Well, next time you talk to him, try to find out more details. I mean, I sort of know a little bit. He does like telling it, again. He does talk about it. It's like Luke Ford, when he's feeling a bit low, and then he talks about all the great blowjobs he's had, kind of thing, to kind of comfort himself. And obviously this woman, was quite hot stuff, I guess.
Well, yes, but I mean, this thing, like the concept that someone is having sex with you to damage you, that's very foreign to a gay man. Gay men are just grateful for it, happy for it. It felt good. It looked good. We had a good time. You know what I mean? And there's not this, oh, he was trying to.
I mean, possibly the woman, wasn't.
What do you
even
mean
thinking
trying to
of
get something over on you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Can you hear me?
You dropped out for a bit. Yes, I can hear you, but you dropped out for a bit. I can hear you in the pool. Can you hear me, Vincent? Vincent, I can't. I mean, I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me. I hope he hasn't done anything to his phone. That would be a shame. Well, I hear watery noises, so I don't know what he's doing now.
Hello?
Oh, yes,
Hello?
good. Yes, hello. Where are you now?
Okay,
I thought you were in the pool.
I am in the pool. I've gone into the pool, and I got a alarm. If I disappear again, it's because my alarm is going to go off again. But okay, this idea that some man is seducing me to manipulate and hurt me is not something that we deal with in the gay community. It's not they're grateful. It's ooh, he liked me, and he liked me enough to take his clothes off for me, and I'm so happy, and wow, what a great sexual experience, and this and that. And with men and women, it's oh, he got one over on me. What are you fucking talking about, got one over on you?
Yeah, I mean, why can't you just sort of enjoy the, unexpectedly good free sex? But I imagine that Jay probably wanted more, and he was told he couldn't have any more. He was probably ghosted, because this is a new term that people use these days. It's like, yeah, I'll have sex with you, lots of sex with you, and oh, I'm bored now. I don't want to ever hear from you again. I'll block you on my phone, which happens a lot. I don't know if it's happened to you.
Yes, it does happen, but it's a little bit different in that, yes, I mean, people ghost each other in the gay community all the time. But, okay, so fine, they weren't attracted to you, they got bored with you, this, that, like, whatever it was that they left you for. But, not like they were trying to get one over on you, like in a sleazy, like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like this thing that men and women have with each other, like, oh, I got one over on you. Like, what do you mean you got one over? What are you talking about? Like, why are you even approaching sex in this manner?
Mm.
Well, it has to do with the fact that a man, when he has sex, if a woman allows a man to have sex with her, he then thinks she's a slut, right?
Mm-hmm.
and and like he then thinks that she's a slut and he looks down on her, and so she's scared to let him have sex with her because she doesn't want to be called a slut afterwards, or him go all around the town and say that he had her, and she's a hoe. And whereas a gay man go around, tell everyone at the resort we had sex. I don't care. Like, gay men don't care to be slut shamed. I mean, they do slut shame each other now these days because they've become so mainstream and they're trying to be like straight people and get married and have relationships and all this other kind of stuff. But, it's still not the same. It's still not the same level. Like, it's still not the same level, and it's still not the sense like, oh, he's he's just using you, and who cares if he's just using me?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, as long as I'm having fun, maybe I'm using him, or I don't mind being used because I'm having so much fun.
well, the problem is that it goes back to the ancient problem that man plus woman plus sex equals baby. And so women need to be slut shamed because, or needed to be slut shamed because then you wouldn't know who the father was and nobody would take care of the baby. And, so it goes back. And even though we have birth control today, I mean, it should disappear. Margaret Sanger wanted these negative relationship scenarios with heterosexuals to disappear. She was very much Russia, when Russia adopted birth control, she thought it would turn into a free love paradise. And it didn't. They still maintained traditional families, and women were still slut shamed and all these other kinds of things. She was trying to get rid of all this. And it just seems that heterosexuals have too much of a primitive mindset and still can't get over the age of reproduction, where no matter what they did, if they had sex, the likelihood of having a baby was very high. And so you just couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. And if you did do it, you needed to be shamed unless you were married. And, it still hasn't changed. And I think that shows the lack of evolution. Now we have birth control. So the problem is alleviated, but, Margaret Sanger's dream didn't come true.
Well, as far as modern contraception is concerned, it seems to have led to more abortion than unwanted pregnancies, because I guess people thought it would be. They lived in a culture of casual sex, and I guess some people would have it um, without contraception, and so you need, you just need more than that, the morning after pill and the abortion pill, and people just get more and more careless the more protection there is. But then the same principle applies to cars, like your luxury car, um drives so fast, it has the airbag, and so it makes you think you can get away with driving more recklessly, etc.
um, it's a problem, and it's a problem that's not ever going to go away. Obviously, like, we tried contraception for heterosexuals, and it they've turned free love into something very negative. You know what I mean? They've just turned free love into something very negative, and they're all complaining and they're all unhappy. If okay, it's the same thing. Okay, gay men, we have HIV, right? So there's always a fear of HIV, even though now we have PrEP. I'm on PrEP. I can't get HIV, even if I tried, or 99% likely I can because I'm medication. So, okay, let's say PrEP is the gay man's birth control. Like, it helped us. It didn't hurt us. And gay men are not sitting around complaining, being like, oh, PrEP led to a culture of more casual sex and more free love. And isn't this horrible? Because, now we all just treat each other like sluts and shit. It's our birth control. And it did lead to more free love.
Well, I don't know why you use that analogy since you can't have babies.
No, but now we can't get HIV.
Oh, you mean it makes gay behavior more reckless because of that drug?
Well, it makes it more reckless, but we're not complaining about it, and we're actually being saved. Okay, so what's the worst that happened now? We can't get HIV and we can fuck more? Like, great. You know what I mean? Like, okay, and we're not sitting around complaining.
Mm.
But heterosexuals, complain about their current state of affairs, and and they birth control, they're not happy with it. And well, they're not happy with it, but they're addicted to it.
Yeah, so I guess you could say they might be envious of gay people who, never have to worry about unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah, I think a lot of it does have to do with envy, that we can just have our child-free double income lifestyles and have lots of sex with whoever we want and never fear pregnancy. And if one of us commits adultery on our partner, it's not like in 6 months somebody's going to be knocking on the door and saying I'm pregnant. And we have none of these kinds of problems. And I agree. I think homosexual men are more frivolous. I think that they're more into entertainment, more into good times, jolly times, fun times than heterosexuals are. Not that heterosexuals are not into fun times, and not that all gay men are, frivolous, but there's definitely a problem with that in the community, to be frivolous and to spend too much time drinking and eating and clubbing and drugging and these different kinds of things. And people look at us and they're jealous. They're jealous. We have lots of freedoms, and they're also.
And you're not producing children, and once people finally accept, and I think that this is what white people who keep going on about their birth rates is that, well, you can't have free love, either gay or straight. You have to take marriage seriously, or you will become extinct.
Well, unless you do it my way, so, I mean, I'm thinking about marketing it to heterosexuals again, or I don't know if I should even worry about them, because I tried everything to get heterosexuals into eugenics. I tried for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and I just couldn't get them interested. And unless they were these stupid right-wing assholes who, I was more so. Where I learned about eugenics from? Dune. Did you ever read Frank Herbert's Dune?
I didn't read it, but I did watch the movie.
Okay, the Bene Gesserit were trying to selectively breed a superhuman. Now, they did it, unfortunately, the way they needed to do it. They were women, And so they would manipulate men in the royal houses to sleep with them. And then they would have daughters, and then those daughters would marry other men. And they were practicing this selective breeding program in order to bring about this Messiah. And, you know, okay, that's a little bit different. So it was a colony of women who were practicing selective breeding, you know, and getting pregnant by different men. And that would be nice. I would approve of that if a group of women would come together. You know, it's just that I don't want the boring old way of doing it, which is just heterosexual monogamous marriage and no, you know, and I want genetic engineering and I want transhumanism and I want this and that. I'm more like in the book, there's the Twi'leksu. Actually, it's very interesting. I hadn't really thought of this before. The Twi'leksu were an all-male society, and there were no women, and they
This
would
is in
grow
June, right? Is this
in June, and
okay?
they would grow babies in tanks, and they were into genetic engineering, and like I'm feel more affiliated with that. They weren't gay, but they were all male, and I feel more affiliated with something like that than, you know, some boring straight marriage between two people who, you know, met and it was their only option because they lived in a small town and, you know, they were young and horny and prevented from having sex before marriage. So they just married at 18 like Jehovah's Witnesses do. And like, okay, yeah, even the Jehovah's Witnesses taught me, okay, everyone, okay, in Jehovah's Witness culture, there is a tendency to marry early because you cannot have premarital sex, but you haven't gone out into the world. You haven't found out who you are. You have a very limited selection. So you're growing up, you know, you didn't go off to college to meet 50 million different women. No, it was a girl who was in your congregation. You have slim pickings because it's a small religion. You have to find, you know, it's slim pickings and you're rushed into it because you want to have sex. And, you know, that's just not a way to have a selective breeding program.
Okay, but you okay? Tell me what this selective breeding in Dune was about. So you're saying the women they chose men. What kind of men were they choosing, and how did the whole thing work?
Well,
And
they would choose a lot of the royalty, but they were choosing for, you know, what were they choosing for? Obviously, they were choosing because they wanted them to be healthy and strong and fit and these different kinds of things. They wanted high quality men. They wanted men in the aristocracy. But on another level, they were trying to breed for a prescient being, right? The Messiah is supposed to be prescient and be able to see the future and guide them into the future. So they were looking for certain kinds of metaphysical mental traits in these men that would create more prescience. And
people with a sixth sense who can read the future.
yes, they were looking for a Superman that could read the future, and that was what they were trying to create. And, you know, I mean, that's not something in eugenics that maybe you can necessarily breed for, though. Well, okay, I'm an INFJ on Myers Briggs, so supposedly I'm able to see the farthest into the future and able to see how something would pan out. And so if you want to breed for prescience, breed for INFJ, breed for INTJ. If you know, if you would breed, I mean, that would be for prescience. If I were to breed for prescience, I would breed INFJ people.
What do they what what are their characteristics? Being intuitive?
Yes, being intuitive and foresightful and able to see how something will unfold longest into the future. They're very good. They're very good at social systems. They're very good at detecting how a social mode will evolve in society and what will become of it. So that, not that other people can't do that, but they are supposedly able to see the furthest into the future. So
Why don't you
I'm
just breed chess players?
well, yes, I mean, that would be another way, to do it. And yeah, that would be another way to do it. And there's like, different kinds of things that you can do. Um, I believe more in breeding for personality type. And so you want physical health, you want diversity physically, you want short, you want tall, you want thin, you want muscular. You don't obviously want obese, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it would help anyone to breed an obese race. You want blonde, you want redhead, you want brunette, you want physical intelligence, mental intelligence. Some of them are going to be more intuitive. Some of them are going to be more sensors, and you want to breed all different personality types. And this goes back to the diversity that Cattell and Beyondism asked us to create. He said, create diverse societies so that we can figure out what it is that makes everybody best or worse, and why does this crowd do better than this crowd? Is it because of their social laws and their social customs, or is it because of their genes? And then you find everything possible. I mean, he didn't create a legal system with a court, so that needs to be added to it. But that the thing is that with Beyondism, he said steal from other people, so it's not necessarily, it is Beyondism to steal. So if I say, okay, steal their legal system, it's still Beyondism. I haven't corrupted the religion. You can adapt without corrupting.
Well, we have no. I mean, the only reason why we've heard of, certain religious groups is because they've been around so long and they have so many adherents. And, if you're a cult, you're just going to be ignored for centuries, like Christians were until the 4th century. Or, I mean, do you think Nation of Islam are doing well? Do you think, uh, I mean, there is no advantage in being a new religion. And so, what you want if you're choosing a religion is like one that has a track record, and one that has an official handbook, and one that, doesn't break any of the laws of, I guess, the most senior religion, really, or the most high status religion, which is Judaism. I mean, people, in their minds, they've just basically internalized the whole setup, haven't they? That there's only
Well,
three.
well, if you're unhappy with what things are, I don't see what's stopping you from starting something new. Because at one time Islam was new, and the world is going to keep going. And 1,000 years from now, 1,000 years is going to pass. And if you start a religion today, maybe in 1,000 years it'll be the world's dominant religion. I mean, I don't think Muhammad. Look, Islam didn't spread everywhere in Muhammad's lifetime. It took years after his death for it to get to Iran and Egypt and India, and it took a
About
while.
100 years to Islamify the Arabian Peninsula. But it's
Yeah,
not
okay.
just, it wasn't just conquest. It was, the way they exacted tribute. It's like, well, it's not convert or die, but that, you don't have to change your religion as long as you pay us a jizya. And there's certain advantages to, paying the jizya, and we'll protect you from the others. All kinds of, it's a book of bargains as well as a book of rules. And that was probably why it so quickly took over the world, because people can do deals based on its principles. But with Christianity, it was basically conquest. Well, okay, maybe it wasn't in Europe, because the barbarian kings of Europe were, just remembered where, knew where Rome came from. Sorry, where Catholicism came from, and they knew it came from Rome, who, you know, uh, and they knew that Romans did conquer, did have a big empire, and I guess that was the biggest idea at the time, and they went for that. And fundamentally, people will not be saying, "Oh, let's try out this new cult." They will be saying, this thing about how does it go? Something old, something new, something borrowed, and something new. And I guess people want a judicious mix of all these things, because this is something that brides are supposed to have at their wedding. And the thing is, when you know of the trauma that people have to undergo before they will even think of changing their, religion or political system, you don't want to subject them to it again, in 10 years' time or something. You want it to be for keeps. But what has been happening in the West has been, all these revolutions, because Christianity basically failed all those Europeans, and so they had the American, the French, and the Russian Revolution. And then after that, after they dumped Christianity, there was liberalism, there was communism, there was nationalism, and still it didn't work. So a good case can be made for, well, you've tried all the wrong ways now. Are you going to be so Islamophobic that you're going to be creating new wrong ways to try, or reluctantly come to accept that that there is there's an obvious religion you could be using. And with the power of the media, it's very easy to weave a narrative that will make people feel better. For Americans, it could be, like, well, it's a religion that supports the First Amendment, which I'm sure a lot of Americans regard as a, peculiarly proud American achievement. But it was also responsible for the loss of belief in Europe. Because the moment the Americans had the First Amendment, the Europeans said, we want it too. Which is kind of what happened eventually happened in Europe. But I mean, it's just a practical thing. It's like, well, you're forced to play this game. So we need to know the name of the game. We need to know the objectives of the game, and we need to know the rules of the game. And if we're not being told what they are, our reading classes will just make up the rules as they go along. And we'll just be forever complaining about how incompetent and corrupt they are.
I wish I could understand that woman, that Ludendorff woman's book. I would like to see if it's rubbish or not, and I would like to see if it gives you something to live for, if it gives you, if it gives you purpose and direction. It was too complicated for me, and I know that's a negative for it. Not like, just because something's complicated doesn't mean it's not useful, and doesn't mean it's not true, though we tend to focus on utility more than anything else. But
Well, I think from what I remember you saying, she was saying what we cannot possibly know, we shouldn't be even wasting time arguing about it.
yeah, she said,
Is that
yeah,
Mhm.
she said we shouldn't be wasting time arguing about things we can't know.
That will forever remain in the realm of speculation, i.e., whether God exists. But I'm not. I'm as an agnostic, I'm not arguing whether God exists or not. I'm saying let's just assume that he was a figment of our imagination, or a lie if you prefer. But then lies have utility.
Well, some do, yes. I think some lies have utility. And
And
You
and,
know, I think one of the prices you pay for being overly truthful with yourself is depression. Oh, I
exactly. I mean that is so true. So and it also makes cowards of men because they'll assume it can't be done. They're going to fail. It's going to end badly, and they're going to suffer, and then they're going to die. And obviously, if you think like that, you're not going to be embarking on, any onerous undertaking. You won't be going round the world like Christopher Columbus or any of the great explorers. You'll be, staying at home.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I used to think I was special and protected, and I think that was better for me than now, where now I always tell myself, no, you're not protected. Nothing's protecting you. You know what I mean? And I think that's more true. I think it's more likely that nothing is protecting me than something is protecting me. But of course, it makes my life harder. If you think you're being protected, then you're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel less depressed. You're going to feel less like bad things can happen to you. You're going to speculate less about negative futures because, I'm protected. God has my back. And, I don't have that, like, made for greatness, definitely opinion anymore. And, I'm very much well aware of the fact that I could fail and that my life could turn out very horrible. And, of course I think about it. And,
But what did you think when when the bullet narrowly missed Trump?
well, I think that was a coincidence, but I'm sure he thought it was the power of positive thinking because he's one of those Norman Vincent Peale followers.
But it also made a lot of people believe or think of believing in God, didn't it? I
Well,
thought it was
and
a very powerful moment.
a lot of people think that it had to do with God. Yes, a lot of people do.
But not only that, but people who didn't previously believe in God might be nudged into believing in God because of that moment.
Well, I think it's a coincidence. I think he could have easily died as well. I mean, I do believe it's a coincidence, but um, uh, you know, uh, look, if it helps Trump to believe he's protected by God, and so he feels more energetic and safe in himself and is less trepidatious, then yeah, the lie worked for him. You
Yeah,
know what I
and
mean?
he's able to create all this feeling. Imagine if Trump were like Stephen J. James, then nothing would get done, would it? Will the dogs agree?
What?
Because
What?
Stephen will say, it's above my pay grade to do X, Y, and
What?
Z.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with all these right wing men. They're not very
Because
volunteering.
they're
They're not
atheists.
very.
They're
They're not
atheists.
very sacrifice. They're not
No, they're
sacrificing.
like
Well,
women waiting for their knight in shining armor. And that's why the women despise them without quite, you know, saying it in so many words. It's like, stop
yes,
complaining, guys. It's for us to complain. Nobody expects us to, start a revolution or do anything, but you guys complaining, just get off your arse and, do something. And men are going, huh, what, why, you know? And the women think, well, we're just going to keep voting to replace you because you're so stupid and annoying.
they are stupid and annoying and useless, and and it's very sad to watch them. But yeah, I mean, everything is above their pay grade, and they're not serious. I mean, okay, I have at least perspective is serious. It's not all a game to him. It's not all making a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
but
was
he
about
does
to,
care and he does take it seriously.
I was about to throw Liam Jarrett off because I just didn't like the way he was speaking to you and being like I didn't think he was being serious, and I did feel as though he was purposely not understanding the point. And telling you that you were talking in gibberish, I understood what you were saying.
Well, I mean, we have a bit of a history anyway, so he already understands secular Quranism and whatever. He's just doing his white nationalist thing. It's like, oh, I feel quite racist today, and just the whole thing. Oh, and you're a Jew, and but anyway, if you listen to any of his streams, he always does that. That there is uh, a kind of pattern to the way he talks about things. But I mean, that Sigma person was so annoying too. It's like there's no ending because after you've been told a story, you'll be thinking of a story. Yeah, so think of the story. It doesn't mean that it has no ending, according to the book. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of seeds around, and I think they just talk to annoy people and take up people's time, and then feel good about themselves just for just disrupting, a discussion without contributing uh, anything beneficial.
No, and it's also the men, it's also the straight men being overly philosophical and not mundane enough. There's a lack of mundaneness in the right wing. There's like even Stephen Broughton is like, oh, you're about logic and I'm about the esoteric, and that is a problem. That is a problem with straight men is that everything is esotericism and you know elevated above this earth and big, big, big fantastical ideas instead of what a woman is into, which is, you know,
The practical.
yes, where's my house? I need to take out the garbage. Somebody feed the baby. You know what I mean? Like it's more, they always accuse women of being less practical. Okay, men have more mechanical intelligence. Okay, maybe they can build a house better than a woman. I would say that. But they spend much too much time philosophizing. You know what I mean? It's men who sit in cafes and drink, alcohol and talk about, you know, God. And, it's women are more discussing money and a
Yeah,
material
because have
thing,
babies to, look after.
which is why I think all of, almost everyone that I follow was a woman. Margaret Sanger, Matilda Ludendorff, what was her name? Elizabeth Dilling, Carol Valentine, and Marie Stopes. They were all women. And okay, she was, Elizabeth Dilling was an anti Semite, but she was a very practical anti Semite. She actually read the Talmud, actually read it, and parsed it apart. And she wrote a whole treatise on, basically how to go after the Jews using their own scriptures. And instead of just sitting around complaining about them, she did complain, but she was much more, she was an investigative journalist. She went in and she found all the communist Jewish connections everywhere in America and Russia, and she published them all in great detail, in detail that only a woman can do. She's the only anti-Semite that I can read. Whereas I hate, these straight men. It's the essence of the Jew. The essence of the Jew is feminine. The essence of the Jew is woman. The essence, the spirituality of the Jew is this. Like, okay, like, no. Okay, I stole my whole thing, my whole anti-Noahide movement started upon the writings of Carol A. Valentine. She's like, here are the Noahide laws. This is what they promote. This is where they've been promoted, and this is a problem. And, I feel as though I write more like a woman than I write like a man. I feel as though my writing is more female, more bare bones, and I don't get into like the ether. Straight men get into the ether.
Mm. I
And
mean, because you are working towards something. You're not just sort of putting words together so that people look at you and say, "Oh, how clever," which I think a lot of people do.
I know, and I don't say things like, the white man's essence is the becoming of being. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, you, you know, they say things like this. Like, I don't even know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they do either. I mean, I'm happy for pithy statements to be made, but only if they are intelligible to the average man or woman. But
Yeah,
but
like
but today
I
I
go
thought,
I go into these white nationalist chats and they have names like Hyperborean Aryans and this and that, and it's all about esoteric knowledge, and it's all about ancient wisdom that we can't understand anymore, and it's all rubbish.
it's their mumbo jumbo, and that's what they like, because it's like, oh, but it's not meant to be understood, but we just love the flavor, the atmosphere, and it's all vague stuff that um and I think it is kind of very feminine the way they talk about, because um, what they hope to do is really have some magic oracle that will tell them their future, so they'll know for sure what to do. I'm sure they'd like a time machine, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen, and we can only use our judgment to work out whether something's going to work or not, and quite often it will be hit or miss, and we are being manipulated the whole time by people who are probably listening in on us, and wishing to suppress us or wishing to divide us, and I think simplicity is key, because we want as many people to understand the truth and logic and morality of you know what we are proposing. Well, and it's not like, oh, I'll have to read up so many things. It's like these things that we're talking about: the law, justice, parenting, marriage, gender roles. It's like they already know. People would already understand these concepts, even if imperfectly, and they can talk about it amongst each other and understand it a bit more. But if you're going to sum up the problem of the West, you can say it's because America doesn't have an official moral system, and then you can say, oh, and Washington warned against this, all those years ago, and well, I think Americans should respect him a bit more, considering he's a founding father. But they say things like, "Oh, I prefer Jefferson," or "Oh, it's too late now." And I think fundamentally, at the most practical um, level, it's because there really is no one in charge of the country, and that's why everything is going crazy. Nothing works because nobody really knows what to do. Not even Keir Starmer. He's just firefighting. He's just reacting to events.
Who is?
Keir Starmer.
Oh,
With the
he's the new
riots
prime.
and everything, he just says all the wrong things to, rile everyone up and make them riot more. He doesn't know how to talk to the people. And he might know, oh, I better go and lay a few reeds and look sad and bow my head, and then then I'll go after the photos have been taken. So of course the people there will be even more angry than if he hadn't even visited. So he just does everything wrong because he hasn't got an instinct for it. He hasn't got an instinct because he's put there because somebody thought he looks good or can do the job or will do the job. I mean, I wonder, why did you say, Vincent, that you're considering voting for Kamala Harris?
Oh God, because I'm a little bit nervous about these conservatives and the going in the other direction. And I know she's terrible, and I know the Democrats are terrible. Well, it's almost like, I listen to these people. I listen to the type of people who support Trump. And I listen to the type of people that maybe they don't support Trump, but they're in the dissident right. And I just want these people dead. And so sometimes I just say, well, fuck you, let the whole country collapse and die out because you're such idiots. And it's almost like I'm so disgusted by white men that I want to see illegal immigrants bust their heads open. Like, it's like this is what I want to see. You're so gross, that I just don't even care about you and I hate you. And I'd almost rather the other side win. I'd almost even if it meant my death and the demise of my society, like maybe it's just time to snuff this out.
Possibly, but I suppose all the arguments have to be made, and there is this idea of redemption, and it's never too late to repent. So, I mean, all I can do is, repeat that message and believe, behave as if I believe it is true, and that's a way to do it. And also, I think, in a way, a lot of groundwork has been done by just saying the same thing over and over again. It's like it's because you haven't got a religion, and I think a lot of people are instinctively, they just talk about religion more now, don't they? Or is it something you haven't really noticed?
What, that people are talking more about religion?
Yes. I mean, Christian nationalism trending, or are we just being manipulated again? I mean, Trump printing his Trump Bible. I think when people are scared, they will kind of, cling to religious symbols because, even if they don't really believe in it, they think it might have some, ancient power that could be magically revived if they wished for it hard enough, you know. But really, men have turned in, to children, and that is why, they're just losing. I mean, like the English riots, all these people just saying, "Oh, you've been saying pro invader Islamist things." It's sort of like, well, obviously the Muslims have been saying a few things after having their mosques attacked, so a few home truths are coming out. But more rioting. I mean, it's all too predictable that the rioting would just give the government more of an excuse to do a crackdown. And in fact, I don't know. You probably do. You know, reactionary over the weekend. His stream was basically considering all the videos of the rioting, and he was saying, look at this group of men. They have the same make of balaclava. They have the same make of boots. They have the same clothes. It's like a kind of army issue. And oh, look at them going to the, Muslim Dharma stall, and then turning over the stall, and he was saying, it was a police operation because, obviously after the police at Manchester Airport kicking that Muslim in the head, he, so Muslims, decide they don't like the police, and that the next thing to do is to, make it so scary that the Muslims will be grateful for the police who come out in force to protect them. And then there will be all, and today Starmer was saying there's going to be such a crackdown, with the 24/7 courts opened and people being slung into jail, as well as God, what I say, I'm say now. But they're using the riots as an excuse for more, repressive measures, and online as well as outside. So it's like they want it. The powers that be want a bit of disturbance, so people can. So it'll give them an excuse for more repressive laws. And actually, the Duran was saying that one of them lived in a greater London area, and he said, well, it's quite peaceful where he is, but the way the media is reporting it, you would think the country's up in arms. And he said he called people up and down the country to ask them their perception of things. And I know Stephen J. James has been just monitoring everything about the riots, and he seems to think that there's going to be some overthrow of the government. I don't think so. That just gives them an excuse for more repressive measures.
Yeah, these people are not organized, and they're probably out drinking, and I don't know what
It's
what is
like
it about
fighting.
what
Summer
is it
is.
yeah, what is it about the British and getting drunk and rioting? Like, I remember there was just a talk on a synagogue, and it was all these British people, and they were all drunk. I mean, like, I don't know you know, the football hooligans, and they like to mix drunkenness with their riots.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think of any of the revolutions, they tend to start in summer. 4th of July. Well, the French Revolution also started in July. Well, the Bastille Day was the 14th of July. So it's weather related, and yeah, a bit of anger at the way things have been done, and the cluelessness of Starmer,
I
who
know, but a
just
lot of it, but
sincerity.
well, I was just saying they fuel it with alcohol, which, doesn't help and makes them act stupid and, you know, overreach.
Yeah, and the more stupid they are, the more they're going to be pissed and shat on. And they don't, I mean, they're so stupid, they don't know how stupid they are. And, they just encourage their enemies by being super stupid. It's like, well, just use those arguments. There's no need to have your head cracked open by the police, to go to any march. I mean, I know, some of these men love it. They just love their street politics, marching together as a group, walking, coordinating their, every step with each other. And yeah, I can understand uh, the feeling of togetherness and all that, but you're kind of not getting it, because you're it's a peasants' revolt, and nobody is really leading you. It's just sort of random people who think it would be a nice day out to go and go to town with a few of my mates, have a few pints, and bash a few packies and break a few mosques. They're not being organized. I mean, and nobody, nobody tells them any better. And in fact, that they'll probably be egged on to do, by malign forces to do these things.
Yeah, like it was really sad when Tommy Robinson, his last big event he did with the police, right? Remember, they wanted somebody to resign, some police commissioner to resign.
Hmm.
You remember?
Actually, I don't. Was it the female police commissioner? And I think she did, but I can't
Well,
remember about what now.
but he had to announce 50,000 times on his, every time he made the announcement, he needed to tell them not to go there and get drunk. He needed to specifically, make sure that they weren't getting drunk. And like, you wouldn't have to do that at a Muslim rally. And I don't know if you would have to do that at a Trump rally. I don't know if they're known for their drunkenness. I know that Proud Boys were known for their drunkenness and cocaine use. It's these,
Hmm.
you have to, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching a bit of the funeral procession of Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader. Um, and I mean, there was quite, extended footage of it. And there were a lot of, the crowd was big, that, there was a procession, but they just somehow turned it into a kind of rock concert. And, they looked like they were having fun anyway. And you could tell they were, saying something threatening about Israel, but that there was a sort of rhythm to it, that the chants, that kind of made it, I guess, cultural and musical about what they were doing. Because I think the Iranians are quite good at putting on shows like that, and getting people out to you know I mean, in a way, the Trump rally is sort of like that because there's a kind of chorus bit, right? He's going to say this thing, and then he's going to say this catchphrase, and everybody repeats it with him, and you know, and the Yobbos. I guess they might have a few football songs, but I mean, the best they have is Tommy, 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 Tommy Robinson. It's not even a proper. It could be something. It could be a form of words, but it would never occur to them to do it because basically these men are working class men, and they don't have the benefit of anyone above them prepared to lead them. So when they get themselves into trouble, they'll be dropped like hot potatoes, and they'll go in prison for nothing. But I
Uh-huh.
mean, but this is the nature of how what's the word? Okay, there's nobody leading anything. It's all, I'm angry, I'm gonna, and it's summer, I'll, organize with a few of my friends to go into town and see what the action is. And maybe pass by a few mosques and maybe punch a few packies. You can imagine how they think. And they do go around, breaking mosques and punching packies. But there's no forethought, there's no, direction, there's no focus to any of it. And even if they got into power, people would be just, well, wanting them not to be in power. And they don't know, and nobody tells them.
No, they're incapable. I told you, look, the white man's weakness is that he needs to be like,
He doesn't have a leader.
no, but he cannot fight as a minority. He doesn't know how to fight as a minority.
And also because Britain is a matriarchy, there is no patriarchal moral structure, hierarchical structure. And I keep saying, if father and son are not even agreeing with each other about politics, then the stupid young men are just going to, well, get themselves put in jail for nothing. And and if even their fathers bothered to warn them not to do it, they'd ignore their fathers anyway. While at least the Muslims, they'd be more likely to listen to their mosque elder or their, father, you know. And of course, they don't think of things like optics. And fundamentally, Um, I mean, if you put it to them like this, yeah, would you just be happier if the Southport Slayer was white? And I suppose, they'd say, yeah, then we wouldn't comment about it. And then we just turn the page. And that would make them sound terrible. I mean, I was trying to tell Stephen, it's like, look upon it as a law and order problem and, just something to show that, why, why things are like that. It's a systemic problem of the political system. Why did we have competent and principled leaders? Why don't we? Why do we have these incompetent people who are just placed there by some sinister supranational organization who doesn't mean well for us? I mean, we could be talking about that. It's easier than getting your head kicked in over nothing at all. Oh, did you see that video I sent to you of there were all these policemen holding those shields, right? And then there was a titchy policewoman, and this yobbo just went up to her, and he just kicked her shield, and she just bounced backwards and fell over. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
And they have these these little policewomen who probably incite crime just by their lack of height. And yeah, it is crazy.
I know everyone was making fun of that woman who was defending Trump, the 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 Secret Service agent, the woman who couldn't put her gun inside her,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't put the gun inside the
Inside a
holster.
holster. Yeah. And they were more interested in putting their sunglasses on to look cool. Or that was the impression I got. Was anything said about them?
Well, I know there were a lot of memes about her making fun of DEI hires and stuff like that.
Well, at least one of them got into the picture, bundling him off the stage, but she was just so short that she didn't seem to offer that much protection. Yeah, but I mean, fundamentally, these men who are complaining about immigrants, they need to actually address the issue of feminism, and that's the biggest sacred cow of all, and they don't quite dare. And I was timestamping this conversation I had with Stephen, and he was just saying, I'm not going to say anything because my friend won't talk to me anymore if I did. So that's why he comes here and post stuff. I think people should just sort of be more transparent. If you're going to say things online, you know the people who know you in real life should not be too surprised when it's all traced to you, because a lot of social media is basically therapy and people expressing themselves, and once they say what's on their minds, they feel a bit better until the feeling comes over, then they want to complain again. And that's basically the purpose of social media, a kind of emotional tampon for these men.
They're horrible and they deserve what they get. You know what I mean? They just they engender disgust. They engender absolute hatred and disgust for them in every way and in every way possible. And they don't know how to make alliances, even internally. They treat each other like absolute trash, like absolute garbage.
So they'll never cooperate with each other to get anything done.
No, they won't. And it's like just put an end to them. It's almost like a dying dog. Like just put it down. That's
Mm.
like why I almost want Kamala Harris to win, because at this point, I'm just like, just, just go away. I have no faith in you. I have no love for you, and it's disgusting. It's like this dying corpse. Like, just get off the. It's like, an old person that won't get off the stage. Like, it's like Madonna, like she's like has so much, she's so old and she's done so much stuff to her face that she just looks bizarre, and it's getting to the point where it's not classy anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mm.
getting to the point it's not classy. You know what I mean? Not that Madonna was ever classy, but it's not classy. And who wants to see this? Oh, there's a poor little bee in the. Let's see if I can get him out of here without him stinging me.
Mm. She's
Get this bee.
65. She goes
What?
topless. Well, I'm just looking up Madonna pictures, and I've got a Daily Mail report saying Madonna, 65, goes topless and shares steamy snap. A rumored, uh, a rumored new Toy Boy lover. Hot fun in the summertime.
Yeah, well, like
That's
people
so
were making
sad.
fun of her. People were making fun of her because she had all this like filler in her face, and she got all this filler and it looked horrible. I remember seeing her. She looked like shit. And do charity work, you know what I mean? Like, do something for the planet. You had your time in the sun. I used to know this teacher, and he was a professor, and he was a very brilliant scientist. And they would hire him at my college where I worked to come give lectures. And
Mm-hmm.
he started getting way too old to lecture. You couldn't hear him. He couldn't hear. He
Mm-hmm.
would mumble, and he was starting to go insane and was hitting on the male students. And but he would just push and push and push and push and insist that they rehire him over and over and over again. And it was getting embarrassing. It was just
Mm.
like, get off the stage. We can't tolerate this anymore. And it's like, get off the stage. I don't know. To, I don't know who I want to win this election, to be 100% honest. I almost want her to win. I'm tired. I
But
am
then
tired.
things will get worse.
Well,
You just
maybe
have to
that's the
support secular Quranism.
maybe that's the
Because
point.
really,
Maybe,
that's the thing that's the thing that will make people turn their head.
well, maybe I don't know. I don't know who I want to win.
But the story of Jonah is that well, that's what we're supposed to believe anyway. It's only when we're dead that it's too late, when the account is closed. So anytime before that, you can say, sorry, I'm going to turn over, turn over a new leaf. I'm not going to do the bad stuff. I'll admit that I was wrong. And there are actually prescribed procedures to do that, to make sure you don't do it again. And yeah, I understand it. It is a big deal, but Stephen and Jay are going to go away and complain about us because um, I
Are they
haven't
in the
given them
chat
the link.
now?
Yeah, they are. But the thing is, that's anything again. And without them saying that they're the usual crap again.
Yeah, it'll be the
But I
use.
suppose but Jay is too busy. Well, in case Stephen wants to join to defend himself, he can come. Yes, I know he's quite upset about the riots because, I think he has a different perception. Okay, I haven't really listened to the news because my assumption is it's all been baked up, and the Durand said, it's been deliberately baked up. And um and I
Yeah,
think saying that it's happening all over the country is just going to attract more people into it when what they should be saying is move on, nothing, move along, there's nothing more to see here. But I don't think people know what they want really. And as for myself, I don't really, I guess I do expect things to get worse before they get better.
making myself a breakfast sandwich.
Isn't it tea time?
I'm just
Is it
eating
about
like
4 or 3?
it's
Is there a
sometime.
breakfast sandwich thing?
Hold on. Yes, they had breakfast sandwiches. Not
I'm
here.
actually going to go and get myself something to eat. You're making me hungry. All right.
Okay, Claire's getting herself something to eat. So am I. I guess we'll see who's going to show up. I don't think he's smoking cigars, but he's down there.
Well, I'm going to the caster
Okay,
because in the caster is not
okay.
the only one.
Yeah, the little one. I'm getting tired. No, I'm talking on this. I'm talking on here. You go out. No, I'm not taking. No. I'm getting weary.
Vincent?
Yes, hello.
Yes, I'm back.
No, I was just saying I'm getting weary. I'm getting battle weary. I'm getting, you know,
Well, maybe your holiday will refresh you. I don't think you can refrain from going on about things.
no, I can't, but it would be nice to just, you know, I feel as though I'm so different from everybody else, so nobody's going to take my suggestions, and I'm not going to like anything that anyone else makes.
I wish Trump would publish a Trump Quran. That would be such a laugh. And he just,
Trump,
yes, he published a Trump Bible and charged some ridiculous amount of money.
oh God, was it gold?
No, I think it's sort of brown, sort of leather thing. But I thought in a way it was a kind of quite clever merchandising.
Yeah, of course it would be leather and dead animals. You have to, they love all that shit. Dead animals and anti-veganism and, you
Madonna's
know,
new boyfriend is black.
hmm
Did you know
No,
that?
yeah, I would. No, I didn't know that.
I wonder what her daughter is like. Did have a daughter, didn't she?
Yeah, didn't she have a few kids?
Mm.
I'm having a breakfast sandwich.
Mm-hmm. What's in a breakfast sandwich? Well, egg and bacon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a machine that makes it?
No, it's like a microwavable thing that they give us for
Oh.
breakfast here.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Elliot's here.
when did Starmer replace Rishi Sunak?
Well, we did have an election on the 4th of July.
You had an election,
We had an election on the 4th of July.
and Starmer got voted in,
Mm-hmm.
and Rishi Sunak got voted out.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you're having a lot of elections for prime minister these days. Haven't you had like 3 prime ministers in the past 2 years?
Yeah, it's really stupid. And Stephen James says that 69% of the votes were postal ballots, were postal
Mm-hmm.
votes. So I think it's going to be, pretty rigged.
Well, I think that shows if 69% of them were postal ballots, doesn't the right wing avoid postal ballots?
Mm. The thing is, they already know they don't have legitimacy. That's why people are, rising up against them, deliberately not listening to them. Duva did quite a good thing about conspiracy theories yesterday on Week in
Yeah,
Review.
I saw that. Conspiracy theories is what, like social cohesion?
Yeah, I suppose. Obviously, it's not good if you have more conspiracy theories than at other times. But then, conspiracy theories are. It means something's gone wrong, and you're going to blame somebody, and it could be. Well, I guess you will be looking for somebody to blame, even if you're all the same religion. It's like this is expression of a witch hunt, right? So, and I know that in the Bible, in the Old Testament, there is this idea of a scapegoat, and actually the Jews would find a goat and banish it or throw it off the cliff or something, and then they'd feel better about themselves. And obviously, since their exile, they couldn't they couldn't do this to a goat anymore, because if they lived in cities, they can't easily do this sort of thing. So I guess that was where when Kaporot came in, and they do this, skate chicken thing.
Yeah.
But this idea is that, the idea is that it doesn't really help. If you blame things that aren't really to blame, you're not going to solve your problem. And it seems that there have been a few incidents of these Jews sort of, leaving the chickens, wasting the chickens or not treating them well and getting into trouble by animal rights.
Yeah, I'm probably leaving the dead chickens on the street and shit. It's a
And I was
barbaric practice.
Oh, they shouldn't waste it. It's like, okay, kill the chicken and give it to charity and prepare it nicely and, or freeze it or something. But they don't, they're more into the ritual. And I guess, once they start, they can't stop. But I think another narrative about, about Jews could be used against them. Because, actually, they're not that bright. What's so clever about, being teacher's pet when everybody hates teacher and teacher's about to be sacked? Were you a teacher's pet when you were at school, Vincent? I imagine you would be.
Give me 1 second.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Have you got? Are you back in the pool?
No, I got a phone call from my husband and it threw everything off track, all my everything. But no, I'm not back in the pool. I'll go back in a little bit.
Okay. I guess he wants you back.
What?
I guess he wants you to go back to the room or something.
No, he asked me to put a beer in the freezer for him.
Oh.
I'm going to be so fat after this vacation.
Go to the gym. Go to the gym. You don't you have a freezer in your apartment?
In my hotel room, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have a whole kitchen in my hotel room.
A whole what?
Kitchen.
Oh, yes, I saw that. But you want your husband wants beer in the freezer.
Yeah, he wants beer in the freezer so it's freezing cold for him. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of giving up. Don't know what to do. I might go back to school.
And study what?
Animal science. It depends on a few things, but if I study animal science, I can learn how to make artificial wounds, which is the only reason I would go back to school, is to learn how to make artificial wounds.
Why don't you just
Eh.
work for the companies that are supposed to be doing that?
There are no companies making artificial wounds.
I looked it up. Apparently there is.
No, are you serious?
Oh, unless I was hallucinating or dreaming.
Well, there's a fake video out there of a fake company making ectogenesis, fake wounds, but it's not real. It's just a fantasy.
Yes, I think you showed it to us, and that was pointed out to you. But I did look up artificial wombs, and I did get a website.
I actually have an idea of genetically engineering because, okay, so what makes a bird able to stay inside of an egg and not have the waste expelled? So like the thing is that I don't know enough about it yet, and hopefully I'll be studying this, but if you have a baby in an artificial womb, how do you take out the waste? And then I was thinking, how do you take out the waste from a bird egg? It's growing, and so there obviously must be some kind of waste or whatever that needs to be transported out, but it all stays inside the egg. So I was wondering if you could create a gel, like this kind of gel, and you genetically engineer the human baby to feed like a baby bird, and then it just eats the gel around it until it's large enough, and then you can lift it up out of the gel.
What? Okay, because you can't make the fake placenta.
What?
The placenta is where the human, the baby.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about growing babies in a gel and genetically engineering them with bird DNA so that they could feed off the gel like birds feed off an egg.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of the Allen toys? Because apparently that it stores nitrogenous waste and facilitates respiration. The chorion facilitates gas exchange.
You're talking about a bird egg?
Yeah, about eggs and how it deals with waste.
Yes, I
So
would have
the
to.
waste becomes nitrogenous.
Nitrogenous
It
waste.
actually facilitates respiration.
Well, yeah, I mean, something like that. I have to think of something like that. And I'm rather creative. And when I did take science, I was at the top of my class. So I'm not stupid. And, well, something needs to be done. So if I go back to college for animal science, I won't be able to spend as much time on these streams, but I wonder if that's a good thing, you know. I mean, you're the only one that I talk to that doesn't bother me, that doesn't annoy me. I got tired talking to perspective, and it's like, are you in trouble or are you not in trouble? Are you in trouble or are you not in trouble? Are you going to do something or are you not going to do something? He admits he's in trouble, and then when I give him a solution, it's, oh, well, we're doing so much better than Islam. You know what I mean? Like,
They are neurotic. I mean, that's the only explanation, isn't it?
yeah, and he's giving me this bullshit, how Christianity has ebbed and flowed before. And he said, he was talking about the Christian persecutions in Rome, and we survived that. And, this is when you were a little cult and you were growing, and, you took over. Since you took over, you haven't had any major sort of problems, and you never lost grip on society, but now it's a different age. It's a different age. You know, it's a different time. Like, notice it. I'm just sick of them. I'm sick of them and I don't know what to do. And I really have no faith. And it's a problem.
Well, the problem is psychological. It's their pride. It's their fear. It's their anger. And also the reluctance to, or inability to say what they really mean. And it's not just, hating immigrants, etc. And, ultimately, I think it's because they have daddy issues. They don't get on with their fathers. They, call them boomers. And they call anyone who is the age of their father boomers.
These younger
fact,
men.
Michael Jones was complaining that he was called a boomer.
Who complained?
Michael Jones. So I guess it's a pretty common insult.
Yes, it is a common insult. And, Michael. Michael Jones isn't going to save shit either. He wants Catholicism, but without a legal system. I'm done. I'm done with people like, it's like, I don't know. I feel as though I read the wrong books and I shouldn't have, sometimes I wish I didn't stray off the path so much because I read all these unusual books and these unusual ideas and they just isolated me because I'm like into implementing things that other people just can't understand.
I think they're just pretending not to understand. And I think that the fact that we find it difficult to speak to anyone in charge means there is no one in charge. And that is what is driving everyone crazy. There is no possibility of a solution, just everything getting worse. And that's why, people kill each other for no particular reason. There'll be acts of random violence. And I think the only people who could just be shamed are the Muslims. And who might, actually organize themselves to do something that might work. And, and I'm not proposing anything violent. It's like, everybody say the same thing or retweet the same thing or, just show people monitoring social media that now there are people capable of leading and following and doing the same thing at the same time in a way that will be unignorable. But what I've noticed is the utter cowardice of so many people, even on Twitter. So Twitter probably responded to people saying, "Oh, I know, I like people's tweets, but there are malign forces who look at my likes and then report me to the authorities or employers or whatever." So people can no longer, people can like things, but they won't be visible. So I thought that, I've got hiccups now. I thought that would encourage more people to retweet things, but I don't see any people retweeting anything of mine.
Yeah, well, I know it's hard to get anything done. I mean, everyone's so scared of being reported. I'm not scared of being reported. I don't give a shit anymore. And like, I'm never gonna have a great job. I mean, I'm not gonna get fired from my job. I don't have like some, top tier job that someone's gonna go and report me and, nobody wants my fucking job. So I think I'm pretty safe. But, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I mean, I really think you might as well strike out. And, you know, I mean, you're the only person that is talking about ideas. I mean, literally, I just don't know anyone else. I think our exchanges are um, thoughts in motion. Well, everybody else has, they have a spiel, it's already prepared,
And it's the same one. It's the same one over, and it's not practical, and it's not strategic, and it's not about planning, and it's not about implementing, and it's just, I don't, like, I just, yeah, I'd rather be working on a project that actually has real world capabilities than sitting around and talking about how bad everything is and having these stupid topics, you know what I mean? Like talking,
yeah,
well,
but
you're talking about race realism, but then what's your plan? What are you actually doing? You
I mean, the thing
know?
is, secular Quranism would actually, give white men or white fathers the parental authority to tell his kids, like, well, don't marry somebody who ain't white. I mean, it creates the legal rights and the social structure that makes it possible to do this sort of thing again. But really, they're not thinking straight, and possibly they're just too cowardly to say anything in real life to anyone. So I mean, the two examples of Jay and Stephen, and we have this conversation with them. I think on your space, and Stephen was doing his, oh, you're autistic for sticking to your guns. So apparently it's more effective not to stick to your guns and never take a risk and never discuss you know any idea with anyone in real life, in case they're not your friend anymore.
Well, it's anyone who has an interested focus, anyone who's a little bit too adamant about their cause is autistic,
Or
right? You
extremist, or radical, or fundamentalist.
Well,
Because
this is what the right wing accuses you of. If you're not, if 90% of your show isn't jokes, then you're autistic. Like if it's not 90% entertainment, you're autistic.
and this is how Stephen kind of crafts his streams.
Yeah, he told me that I need to. He said nobody listens to your streams because it's not enough like entertainment, frivolity, stupidity. It's not enough of that kind of stuff, and it's just straight to the point and the meat of the matter the whole time. I mean, I just give chewy subjects the whole time, and you know, I I don't know. This is why they wouldn't follow Hitler. If Hitler rose tomorrow, Hitler was definitely autistic. Okay, like they would. If Hitler rose tomorrow, these people would reject him.
Yeah, and they were one of the things that Jay was saying, like, oh, I'm 60 now, I have nothing to lose. It's like they might take away your, bus pass, and then you'll have a think again. They're still, they can take away. They can still take away quite a few of your things, because they give you so much. The state gives you so much. And the way it was talking, we're so old now and we don't care. It's like, actually, it's the young people who can be spurred into action, but probably there aren't enough of them to actually overthrow the government.
Well, yeah, old
There's-
people get tired. They get tired. They get disappointed. They get disillusioned. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's young people that do all the fighting and you know have all the energy and stuff like that. And also, old people are less sure about things because the older you get, the more you see that I was much more sure of my ideals when I was 18 than I am now because things are like, you have life experience and you become less idealistic. Like they were telling me, you know, I was talking to these two Christians and they told me that I have no fucking ideals because they said, well, it's ideal for someone. They were talking about Jesus and they were saying that Jesus is the ideal because he sacrificed himself voluntarily. And I said, okay, we don't live in an ideal world. If there's a bubonic plague spreading, you can't ask people to voluntarily quarantine themselves. You have to force them. And you know, I was just trying to make the we don't live in an ideal world. People don't follow ideals. You would have to force people to quarantine in this reality. And so, like, yes, I am less idealistic.
Yeah.
You know,
So, mm,
you know,
but
I'm
it
not.
makes you more cautious and less reckless.
Makes you more cautious, less reckless, but you're also less likely for black and white thinking. You know, you're less likely to, you know, be like, this is what it is, and I know what it is. Like as you get older and you see you've made a lot of mistakes, you know,
Mhm.
you start to realize that, well, maybe I don't know everything. Young people think they know everything. You know, young people think they
Mhm.
know everything, and when you get older, you start realizing you don't know everything. And the older you get, the more you realize how stupid you are, and the more you realize how much you don't know. When you're young, you think you know everything, and when you get older, you start realizing, well, I don't actually know that much, and then you become less sure of yourself because you know you want more information because you realize that you need more information and you realized when you were young you had no information, but you jumped to conclusions anyway. And
Mhm.
it's just, and then on top of that, you get tired, you get disappointed, you get disillusioned, you stop caring about humanity. You just want to be left alone. Old people want to be left alone. You know what I mean? There's this in America. They say that you know that you're old when the phone rings and you hope it's not for you. You know, when you're young, every time the phone,
Yes. Is it for me?
yes,
Yeah.
when you're young, you want the phone call to always be for you, right?
Mhm.
And then when you get old, you just hope that the phone call's not for you because you don't want to deal with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
because you
know,
already know that,
and
it's probably a cold caller trying to, scam you into something.
and the older you get, the harder it is to make friends, the harder it is to make lasting connections, the harder it is to have relationships, and then you start getting crotchety and need your time alone, and maybe you've picked up an alcohol habit or drug habit or something. It's like it's just it's this is the problem with the Trump movement. They're all old people. It's oh God, I hate these Trump rallies. The music they play is from 50 years ago. I am sick. I am sick of listening to my parents' movement music. My father is a boomer, but a late boomer. Um, it's all music from his era.
Well,
And
some of it is still okay.
it's not that it's not okay, but it's been playing for 50 years. I'm tired of listening to it. And also, it represents an America that I can't relate to. It represents this happy go lucky, bobbing your head up and down with your children and your husband, going down the road to see the cinema. Like, it's just life's not like that anymore. And I really don't want to think about it. I don't like watching old American video movies like of the Candyland. I don't want to look. I don't live in Candyland. I don't live in Candyland, so I can't
Well,
relate
okay,
to
what
that.
music would you play? Are you on Spotify?
I would play something more modern,
Hmm.
maybe not like rap, but something more modern.
Yeah, I guess on Spotify it's easy to find a genre of music. beach music, like chill out music, and you know, and their playlists, I suppose.
Okay, why didn't I would play maybe techno rave music. I might. I'm
It's so
not
sad.
joking.
We're divided even by our taste in music. So
No, but
sad.
I wouldn't. I'm not joking. I might make techno. Get off the baby boomers. But the baby boomers have all the money, they have all the power, and they're holding on to dear life, and they just won't let the next generation take over. Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s, and I think she's in her 80s, and she's still like the Democratic Party, like, queen.
Well, you would have thought there would be man enough to challenge her, but there aren't. So there's something seriously wrong in the way people think, in the way men think, and fundamentally, I think it is this: because they don't have any convictions or faith in the future, they will just be risk averse. And currently, Stephen and Jay are saying, I don't have any friends that I can talk to about your silly secular Quranism, because if I did mention it to them, they would think I'm weird, that I'm weird and crazy. And that's why I won't be talking to anybody about your secular Quranism. And I thought, well, how sad. I mean, really, how sad not to have somebody as a man that you can talk to about these things. Like, what do you think of this book? What do you think of this idea? And they literally haven't got anyone, who isn't online to discuss these things with. Oh, okay, well, maybe you haven't either. I mean, but
No, I don't. Who else do I have to discuss things with besides you? I don't really. I mean, I don't. Other people come on the show and I discuss things with them, but I don't get the intellectual vigor that I need from anybody. No.
well, I know you say that as you get older, you become less sure. But I'm sure that I have I have a solution, and since I don't know anyone who has a solution, I'm just guessing it must be the solution. And for some reason, I've just talked myself into becoming more certain about you know my solution, because it makes sense, it is logical, and there is a kind of theological uh, basis for it all. Even down to the we believe in God because we just need to be optimistic, otherwise we'll be like John Maynard Keynes. Do you know what he said?
No.
He said, in the long run we are all dead. Oh, and he was gay as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not the point, is it? Is it? We all know we're going to die. It's how we live and what we do and the decisions we make about what we should or shouldn't do based on what we could, what we can and cannot do.
Can and cannot do.
Yes.
Well, just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Let's say I have to spread this gay eugenics thing, and then let's see if I go back to school for animal science. I don't know yet. And my idea about growing babies in gel using bird DNA. Let's see how it goes.
I sent you a Nature article about that. But
Thank you.
what you propose is probably not going to happen in your lifetime. But what I
It
propose
could.
could
No,
happen.
it could. I could invent the artificial womb if I go back to college and get my degree. I could.
Well, you'd have to. I mean, where would you go? I guess you go to the wound manufacturing people.
Well, I would have to get my degree, and then I would have to propose this, and I'd have to get my PhD or at least my master's and propose it to somebody and say, give me a grant and let's invest and open this up and, you know, let's get it done.
Mm.
You know, I think that my idea about gel and bird DNA might work. And, you know, if the Japanese would listen to me or the Chinese or anyone who has a birth rate problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know, but let's see. It depends on how much money I make. So if I'm not making enough money, I can't go back to school. But if I do, I'll go back to school and try my best.
Mm-hmm.
Just try my best. I have to try my best.
I think radio show host would be your kind of thing.
Well, maybe. I mean, if I don't go back to school, I'll just stay on these podcasts and stuff like that. But, you know, I would have to spend less time doing that. So, I mean, you're the only person that I really talk to that I don't get frustrated with anyway. And I get exhausted talking to everyone because they're just so dumb and useless. And,
Well,
you
if
know,
you talk to political activists, even if they oppose you, you know, you would get the stimulation you want. And I think, you know, basically it's Muslims, really, you know, they're the only ones who are, you know, not happy with the way things are.
yeah, well, they're
And
not going,
most
they're,
likely to do something. I mean, I've already spoken to the, you know, the dissident right, and they're just so hopeless. It's actually demoralizing talking to them.
it is demoralizing. It's demoralizing to talk to them. That's why I'm starting to wish Kamala Harris wins because I don't want these people anywhere near power. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them anywhere near power. They're disgusting. And I just, you know, I'm like, just, I'd rather, I just want to see you lose. Like, even if the whole country goes to shit, like, at least it's not you. At least you didn't, you know, rise up to the top and win. You know, they don't deserve to win. You have to deserve it. You have to deserve that. Like, okay, like I said, when Obama was running against McCain, McCain did not deserve to win. He ran a trashy, shitty campaign, and he just, he didn't deserve it. Obama deserved it. Like, even though I was more on the side of McCain, I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, you
Yeah, it
know,
was so awful. It was so embarrassing. It was so cringe. You know, it was like they wanted to lose. And then I read more recently that he just wanted to run for president. He didn't expect to win, but he just wanted to run for president.
yeah, well, he didn't try very hard, and you know, he didn't deserve the votes. He lost because he didn't deserve it. Obama deserved it. If you put in
Yeah,
the
he was
work,
great. I mean, I have to admit, you know, you don't have to like the guy to think that he was very effective. He could string a sentence together.
and he was
And that's the most
charismatic.
noticeable thing about him.
He was charismatic and, you know, commanding in a way, in his own way, in a
Mhm.
different kind of way. So now he's totally off the scene. You never hear about him anymore.
Well, apparently he runs the CIA.
Well, I never hear of Obama anymore. Like, he just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Oh, they say he runs the CIA, that he is the one, you know, doing all the psyops and stuff. That's what I hear.
Well, you know, I don't know what to say.
Well, I still think the arguments should be. Are there dogs in?
Yeah, I didn't know that they were here.
Oh,
Yes. Hold on, I'm just saying hello to my husband, Chris.
mhm.
Julia's on the way.
Okay.
He must get there at 5.
Okay.
Okay. I just hope that it's nothing too late. What may say that they don't.
Naturally.
Do you have to go?
No, I don't have to go. No, I don't have to go. I'm kind of hoping I get to go back to school for animal science. I'd be happy. I think maybe now I realize that there's nothing to do politically, and maybe we need a piece of technology. Maybe it'll all come down to a piece of technology. You know,
That's magical thinking.
not magical thinking. It's, no, that's not magical
The
thinking.
silver bullet or the werewolf thinking.
What?
It's sort of, the silver bullet idea, right? You just have this magic thing that will solve everything. I guess, in my own way, I have my silver bullet in a way. I mean, I just wish there would be, people prepared to, argue about it. It's like, your idea is stupid, and I'm going to show the world how stupid it is. Just something like that.
No, I didn't. I didn't like the way Liam Jarrett was debating with you. I didn't think it was in good faith.
No, I mean, there's actually no point talking to somebody like that when they're, being abusive and just accusing you of being a Jew repeatedly, and pretending not to understand you.
Yeah, he seemed to be pretending to not understand you. That's what I picked
I think
up.
he likes his drink as well.
Yes, he sounded a little drunk. I know he likes his drink. I heard that.
Mm.
You said he's been drunk on streams before.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought he sounded drunk.
Oh, God, I'm just done with them.
But I mean, it sort of makes sense. It's like, you know that there is this verse in the Quran, chapter 8, verse 65 and 66. And it basically says, you may be outnumbered, but you can beat them. And, it's a pretty good ratio, 1 to 10. And if you're feeling weak and degenerate, 1 to 2. And I mean, I do have a plan about, how to get through to the Muslims. But I will need you to shame everybody.
I don't think they'd be. Well, they're not. Maybe they have no shame if they're not implementing their own Sharia. Maybe they have no shame.
Well, I think maybe you should, do the thing. Have you spoken to Mike Malzahn? Who
No.
lives in Tampa. Anyway, he calls himself an Islamophobe, and what he does is he jumps on all the Muslim streams, so everybody knows him, and he trolls them, with this particular thing. And I think it might be useful if you did that.
Started trolling them. I'm
Yes.
a better Muslim than you are.
Yes. And I'm gay.
Well, I don't know why you think I'm the person to do this, but I don't understand why anyone else isn't doing it. I don't get it. Maybe people are too dumb, Claire.
Yeah, they're too stupid or too scared, but you can make these points and they will understand you. And even if they don't know the answer or don't want to discuss it, it will have an effect. I mean, it's sort of like, the rabbis who don't want to talk to me, and then I hear, through the grapevine that, Jews are being warned against engaging with me because of my heretical ideas. So that was quite satisfying, and it is true that Jews don't have an organized religion, and they it doesn't even matter if they're right or wrong. I mean, nobody can actually say, well, the official position on this matter is that
I have a
they can't do that.
It's under my phone. Underneath. Check underneath. Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, I just had to give my husband something.
I know.
Well, whatever.
No, but it's important because you just see why they are so useless and helpless. And these Muslims are no better because they don't even want a caliphate, and they don't dare talk about it. I mean, really, it's just so easy to shame them, but obviously you have to ask the right questions and say the right things. And obviously, sing from the same hymn sheet. But I mean, Mike Malzahn has been quite helpful because he sort of waves secular Quranism at these Muslims, the book, I mean, to annoy them, which I think is quite useful and helpful, really. But unfortunately, Mike, who does like his drink, has not finished it. Yes, there's so many obstacles in this. This path.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't help that these people like to drink. It doesn't help. I mean,
Yeah. So all the things that the Quran warns about is like, yeah, you shouldn't have done them, and because you keep doing them, you just can't get your act together. You can't find your mojo. But it's an easy to understand system, really, and historically, it's quite easy to say, oh, this civilization crashed and burned because they didn't follow this rule in the Quran, and that one, crashed and burned because it didn't follow the other rule in the Quran. I mean, it's really quite easy to make these points. But I think, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, you can just, follow Mike around. And well, we could just do it on Sundays, because Sundays is a day where they all come to life. Well, I think you're getting tired, so I'll let you go.
I'm not getting tired, but if you want to go, you can go.
Do you have anything more you'd like to say?
No, I guess not. Just, I don't know. I hope I get to go to school for animal science, and then I'll just become a mad scientist, and
Well, I mean, surely you want to be something more than a mad scientist.
I'd be happy to be a mad scientist.
But that's so evil.
Well, maybe that's what I am.
But why do you want to be evil?
I don't want to be evil, but being a mad scientist might help.
But all mad scientists are evil, aren't they?
I don't think so. No, I think there must be a benevolent mad scientist somewhere.
I mean, they're always up to no good. aren't they? I mean, and then there's
Well,
the
yeah,
superhero has to come in and
people
say,
would say that
well,
people would say me trying to breed babies in gel with bird genetics is, evil, but I don't necessarily. Well, you know what? Well, what if my technology saves the earth? What if that? Like, I don't see these white men marrying and having 8 children anytime soon. They're not saving the earth. They're certainly not doing anything. What if my technology helps the white race and it can expand again?
well, what if secular Quranism actually regenerates America?
Well, it would take a while to start having 8 children again.
No, but I mean, look, all we have to do is, we're not required to solve everything in one day, but it's like, if you can just get the super tanker to change course, that would be a start, wouldn't it? And that's sort of, well, enough to be getting on with, considering how hopeless everyone seems to be, pretending not to understand, and just being so neurotic. And um, and in terms of therapy and psychology, I think a lot is to do with uh, having convictions, because if you don't have convictions, okay, imagine being like Jay. It must be terrible to be him because he doesn't even know what he believes, and it's so neurotic, I think, and he's not even ashamed of it. Or have you met people more convictionless than Jay?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Well, everyone is convictionless these days. It seems like everyone is not very convicted.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what the whole purpose of religion is for. It's like, well, even if you don't agree, you sort of know that you have to pretend to support, whatever moral system that you're expected to support. So you wouldn't feel like you're doing something stupid. It's only when you think, should I, shouldn't I, and you think of it the whole time because you're just really not sure. So whatever your um, course of action is about, it has to rest on some conviction of, whatever it is that you need to convince yourself of, because otherwise you just wouldn't be able to do it. And as far as you're concerned, I suppose, I mean, what conviction would you say you have?
Well, I have the conviction that the belief that it is best to believe that your gods are many and inside space time. So I have that conviction, where as the Jews and the Muslims have the opposite. So
But you're
yeah,
not really sure about it. I don't think that's a conviction. You just wish to hold that position in order to be oppositional.
well, there's a reason why they don't want us thinking like that. There's a reason why they don't want us. I think it's a conspiracy. I think these are people who are not very good at understanding the world scientifically, and so they feel as though there must be something more, or they feel as though they want to feel superior. They can't. I think these are people who are deficient in logic and reason and scientific ability, and so they want to make the most important thing something that's beyond science, so that they can sit around and talk about that all day and feel superior and feel as though they know better, and to keep people from talking too much about science which they can't comprehend. Um, I think it's a conspiracy. I think it's made up by weak people that don't want to think logically or rationally or scientifically, ever, and would rather be able to make things up. It's hard to do physics, and it's easier to just say there's angels and demons, and this is how they behave, and this is what they do, and this is what color they are, and this is what free will they have, and it's easier to just make up anything you want. You can make up anything you want about outside space-time. You are under no obligation for what you're saying to make sense.
But it does make sense.
It doesn't make sense to say you understand what is outside space-time. That doesn't make sense.
No, you don't have to understand. All you can say is, well, I'm supposed to believe that God exists outside the universe, having created it. And that's all you need to say. And if they say, well, how did God? You say, well, I don't know. I'm not God. But that's how, this is the universe.
Okay,
the
and
model of the universe.
what are the angels? Where do they live?
They live amongst us, maybe, or they just disappear after they've done their job, because God sends them to do stuff, and they, I guess angels are kind of the minions of God, and the Holy Spirit is like when he really needs to get something done, and he sends a Holy Spirit for minor errands, for not so important people. He might send angels. And I suppose it's because people in the olden days would believe in good and evil spirits. So if you kind of go that way a bit, then maybe they'll be more likely to believe in the whole story. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that that Satan is the agent provocateur of God and his prosecuting counsel, and that he basically works for God.
That doesn't sound very just to me.
Pardon?
That doesn't sound very just to me. That God sends a tempter into the world. It just doesn't sound very just.
Well, I suppose God would say, well, I told you what my rules are, and the purpose
Yes,
of your
but
life is to tell the difference, and obviously you're going to be given a challenging test.
Okay, but it's not like, look, I wouldn't do this to my children. There's a difference between giving your children rules, and there's people out there that are going to try to tempt them. It's quite different sending in the tempter into the home to, basically try to convince your children not to do the right thing. That doesn't sound right to me.
But the point is that a merciful God will give you an avenue for repentance. So the story is that, the situation is that you can repent at any time. Express genuine remorse for your sins up until the time you die. So in theory, you can say sorry for all the bad things, and obviously only you will know how sincere you are. So I mean, it makes sense because you have to allow for people to make mistakes and correct themselves. So that makes sense. So what's your problem with that?
I don't know. This whole narrative is,
Well, I mean, try and poke holes in it and point out its inconsistencies, but as far as I can tell, it still makes sense.
not to me, it doesn't.
I think it's because you dislike it.
Well, I dislike thinking that some God created all this to happen, because it's very unpleasant for certain people it's easier to believe that there's competing forces and some of them like you and some of them don't like you. And the ones that like you aren't all powerful, so they can't always take care of you, but they try their best. And if something good does happen, it's because they had the power to do it. If something bad happens, it's because another deity cursed you. You know what I mean? It makes you hate God less.
Well, actually, I find it more reassuring to think that a perfectly moral God who is omnipotent and omniscient may choose to assist you if he thinks you're all right.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
But,
There's
but,
plenty of
but how do you know he doesn't?
Well, there's plenty of people who are very, very, very devout and have horrible lives.
Can you think of an example?
Of course, there's people. I know there's poor Muslims that have diseases and lose their parents and lose their spouses and their children in fires and all this kind of stuff happens.
Okay, so you could say that Muslims have been cursed by God because they don't follow the rules.
What about individual Muslims who do? Why aren't they being blessed?
Well, I suppose the idea is that even though you led a terrible life, if you didn't break the rules, then you go to heaven. Or if you did break them and you remembered to ask forgiveness in time and you really meant it, then you still go to heaven. I mean,
Well, that's not enough consolidation for a bad life on earth without that's not reassured. That's not assured. Heaven's not assured. So what's important is what your life is like on earth, not the next life.
okay, but don't you see that it is necessary to believe in the afterlife for people to behave correctly?
Well,
And
that's only
that's what I
because
was arguing with Duvid about, and he didn't seem to get it, which I found a bit disturbing.
well,
If you listen to the end of it.
it has utility, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And people who are looking for truth, reason, and logic are not going to say that they know for certain there's an afterlife. I mean, and they're certainly not going to say what it is and what it's like and what it's about and how to get there. You don't know any of that.
Well, the theory is that if you want to get there, you obey God's laws and you pass the exam and you show that you know what is right and wrong, and in practice you chose correctly, and if you did make mistakes, you repented in time. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, which sounds fair enough. You're told the rules. Obviously you're going to be tested so that you prove the difference between falsehood and truth, and a sound argument and an unsound argument, and all the rest of it. In the most basic of tests, tell the difference between A and B.
Are you tired, Claire?
No, I'm not, but you may be.
I don't
I've got my
know.
No, but it makes sense. So I don't know why you keep saying it doesn't make sense.
Just
And
doesn't make
well,
sense.
yes, and Rabbi Mizraki was saying, for bad people, they get their reward in this life, but they for the good people, they get their reward in the next. Because you have to believe in that, because otherwise you'll think that good the good suffer, and there's no point being good. And also, the Sadducees didn't believe in the afterlife, and that's why they're no longer around. I mean, it's just a logical component of belief in the Abrahamic God. I mean, obviously, he has to be perfectly moral in order, to correctly send people, to the right place. And of course, he has to be omnipotent to be able to do that. and all-knowing. So, it's simple enough to explain. And as for God actually existing, we don't know. But Yuval Harari wrote a book about how people just make up stories and fake it until they make it. Which he seems to be saying is a unique human capacity that has created great civilizations and maintained them. And he's an atheist who believes in transhumanism. Oh yes, and he's also married and gay.
Maybe he'll be into artificial wombs. Leave it to a Jew. Like, maybe, yeah, maybe I'll contact him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll contact him and ask him if he's interested in artificial wombs.
Yes. Yes, that'd be interesting. I wonder if he has a website. I think I did look him up on Twitter, but he doesn't really. He calls himself an Israeli medieval historian.
Did he go to college, or was he like?
Let me just read his bio.
Who's Syed? Who's here?
He never says anything. He just stays there and he doesn't say anything. I guess he just wants to hang out with us. Let me see. Let me read his biography. Born in Israel in 1976, he received his PhD from Oxford in 2002. He's currently a lecturer at the Department of History at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and a distinguished research fellow at the University of Cambridge's Centre for the Study of Existential Risk. In 2019, following the international success of his books, Harari co-founded Sapienship with his husband and original agent Itzik Yahav. Sapienship is a social impact company with projects in the fields of education and storytelling, whose main goal is to focus the public conversation on the most important global challenges facing the world. So I have no problem with you getting in touch with him.
Yeah, well, I'll just write to him and say, can you invent the artificial womb? Thank you. I don't know what, he's probably going to want some long drawn out letter with just rubbish and nonsense. I can't think about. I mean, I'm just going to say, look, I mean, our birth rates are declining and we're not getting anywhere. And wouldn't it just be easier to do industrial style reproduction? And I have this idea about growing babies in yolk like chickens. And let's see what he says.
Well, he's really a historian and philosopher, so he wouldn't know much about science. But I also sent you an article from Nature about artificial wombs. But I mean, the two different branches of knowledge anyway.
I don't even know if philosophy is knowledge. I don't think, if you're going to tell me man is the becoming of being, like, I don't think that's knowledge. I think that's just gibberish. Like, I don't think that's knowledge.
Mm.
A lot of
Well,
philosophy,
no, because it's deductive reasoning, because science is empiricism.
Okay, well, I don't think a lot
Therefore,
of
science.
I don't think a lot of philosophy is fact. I think a lot of it is just nonsense and opinions.
I agree.
But these
But
people,
these people what?
they hold on to philosophy and give it so much credence. It's because they can't be scientists. That's why. These people can't do it, so they look for other things to discuss and where their imagination can just flow and they can say whatever they want. Because they can't be wrong. You can't be wrong when discussing God outside space time. You can't be wrong. You can make up whatever you want. It could have the shape of a horse. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm saying it does make sense. I mean, you can say, okay, we don't know, but we also know that in order to do the right thing, we have to. Okay, let's start again. What sort of person does not want to believe that good is rewarded and evil punished?
Well, you would hope.
An evil person would not want good to be rewarded and evil punished. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Not objectively. I can't prove they're evil, but I have the opinion they're evil. Yes.
And so it would be, so how it would work, I've already explained that, if you really did believe, then you're more likely to obey from generation to generation and create this high trust society that everybody, wants back again. And that's it. It's like, okay, maybe God doesn't exist, but if we obey his laws and most people believe in him because they want to believe in him, because most people who are good would want good to be rewarded and evil punished in this life or the next.
I think most people who are good would wish for a God that created a perfect world.
But then we would not be tested.
What do we need to be tested for?
We need to show that we know the difference between good and evil in theory and in practice.
Okay, well, I don't test my birds and I don't want to test them. I just want to give them the best life possible and hope that they behave themselves and,
Yeah, but you don't expect much from your birds. If they were your children, you might expect a bit more of them.
yes, but if I could in a perfect world, I would make a perfect life for my children. I wouldn't make my children's lives horrible. I wouldn't
Well,
do
I'm sure
that to
you
them.
wouldn't. I think the best you can do if you have children is well, make sure they don't die in childhood, and if they manage to survive into adulthood, provide them with a sufficient education and enough upbringing to be a credit to you, which
The
is
point
easier
is,
said than
the point is that I don't believe a moral God would create the universe as it is and give us these tests and no, that's not a God I want to worship.
But why would you expect everything to be given to you on a platter?
Because that's what I would do.
Yeah, but would that be good for your kid? It might become spoilt and entitled and
No,
degenerate.
but if I could create my child any way I wanted, I would just create it to be happy with perfection and not degrade and decline. And I would make it noble enough that it could live in perfection. I would not design the universe this way, and I don't want to worship a God who would. So I might as well believe there's more than one God so that I don't have to put all the blame on one God. Otherwise, I'll hate God.
I don't quite understand why you would object to believing in a unique and supreme authority
Well, I
And
wouldn't,
how would
you know what? If
create a universe? I mean, what makes you think you know better?
well, I wouldn't create it like this, and I have no
How would you
reason.
create it?
Well, I
You just
told
make
you.
it perfect, everybody automatons and behaving correctly. Well, you just created robot land.
Well, I could create humans with free will that are noble instead of ignoble, so that they do make the right choices.
But how can you tell the difference between, if you talk about somebody being noble, then you must assume the existence of it being ignoble.
Look, I could
And if
give my
everybody were the same, then there would just be no contrast, no possibility of being different. I mean, there can be no down if there's no up.
this is just not how I would create things, and I don't want
But
to
why
think
do
that.
you have to think you know better?
Well, because I'm unhappy with the way things are, so I don't want them to be like this, and I would curse the God that made it like this.
But maybe you don't know everything. Maybe what you want is not good for you or anyone else.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the alternative is true either, so I might as well just go with my own logic.
Well, your logic is to create something very experimental and very risky when where the patient is so weak and so ill and so frail.
Yeah, that's when you do experimental cures. That's look, when my aunt got chickenpox when she was in her 30s and she almost died, and they did an experimental treatment on her. It was an HIV medication or infusion, and it worked. They tried something bizarre and it worked. Like, I'm trying something experimental on a dying patient. Yes, that's what you do.
Oh, fine. I mean, you can try and interest people in this experiment, but they're already so reluctant to do things a traditional way. And they're already so risk averse.
Well, let's see. If I go back to school for animal science, maybe I can invent the fucking thing myself.
All right, all right. I'll leave you to it then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.